So I'm going to go back to your elephant analogy and just explain, just kind of give an example, and then tie it into the key metrics and how it makes sense. One of the companies I had worked with in the past, we were working with physicians, and we're trying to improve patient flow. So each of the different groups in different departments, they had certain metrics that they wanted to measure. So these were metrics that are important to them. And since like they're kind of competing against it, where they're trying to get people to move out, um, they were trying to determine, okay, what is it that's important to me without really understanding what the impact is on someone else. So
Mm,
we did the tabletop exercise so that we could see how everything ties together. And when you can't see the big picture, you may not understand how your metric may influence someone else's metric. So
mhm,
you may be trying to get your time in your unit down, but then pushing them to another unit. But then that causes a chain reaction where then people are exiting faster than they should be or whatnot, and then they basically they're coming back into the ER at a faster rate or whatnot. So one of the things when we're looking at these key metrics is like we said before, is we need to review these with all the stakeholders involved. We need to understand what's the business objectives. We need to know how does our part play within it. And when we're doing this, I think that we need to understand different aspects of different metrics, because there's things like where they're leading metric or they're lagging metric. So are we looking at something where we're looking at the process itself, or is this an outcome that we're trying to impact? And generally in these situations, your lagging metric may be someone's leading metric. So with this cascading effect here, we need to understand, how does your metric impact someone else's? How does what you do impact someone else? So this is where it's very important that you have alignment from top down and you have everyone together. And the communication, I think, is the big key with this. And in these situations, we have to evaluate and prioritize what is it that we want to do, because we may not necessarily be able to fix all the metrics or the whole process at once. Generally, in a situation like this, you may want to fix something upstream at the beginning of the process, because then they'll have a trickle down effect. But in there may be some instances where there's a quick win that's further down in the process, and you're going to solve that because it's just a big issue, and you're going to kind of jump into that. But you need to understand, like, what are the things that come into this that are impacted, what are the things that come out of this are kind of impacted. And then we have to say, okay, how are we going to define what success, like how are we going to monitor progression with this? Because once we touch that and we move on to something else, it may have another impact. So I think
mhm,
a lot of the things with the key metrics is we have to understand, like, what is it we're measuring, why are we measuring it, what question do we want to answer by this. So when we're looking at this metric, is it something that we can impact? If so, then that would be a leading metric. If it's just an outcome that we're going to see, okay, then we have to understand what is it that we need to do as a group and to kind of get this outcome. So I
mhm.
think when we're looking at metrics, a lot of it is we have to just simplify so it's something that everyone can understand, and it's not something where it's difficult. So it's not a piece of data that is only reserved for specialists to understand it. So, in
Mhm.
my point of view, with the background in data, if the if you have to explain what story your data is telling or what the key metric is doing, it's too complex.
Yeah.
So, if you're looking at this metric, if you can answer what question am I solving by looking at this, then you have a very solid metric, and you
Mm.
have alignment by the whole group.